Carolina. Well, we're both freezing our tuchus off.
I'm fine. It's chilly. I
Well,
was
that's
looking
right.
for.
You like cold weather.
Yes, I do. You betcha.
With the new ministry project I'm working on, maybe I sent you to my second office,
Where's your second office?
Alaska.
There you go. I'll ask her. What are you gonna ask her?
No, the guy's going to be working with me is up in Alaska.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, and I admit I'm outside looking. 2 packages were supposed to arrive here, and neither of them are here. But anyway, sorry, I'm distracted. Oh, not good.
At least I know this works.
Yes, it does. It does work. Indeed, it do.
And
Indeed, indeed.
I've improved over my last interview. At least I got us right side up this time.
Yes. Well, I'm actually upside down, so this isn't right. But
Do you
yes,
remember
no.
that last one?
Yes, sir, I do.
At least you
Yes,
had a sense of humor and went sideways too.
it was an odd way that occurred. Yes, sir. But that it did. I wonder if AJ picked him up because I don't see him. But that concerns
Hopefully the
me.
porch pirates got them.
Yeah. It came at 2 different times. Maybe AJ picked them up and thought they were for him because today's his birthday. So
How old is he?
I don't know. I think he's a couple of years older than, well, you and I are the same age. I see no packages in here. Just concerns me that it says both were delivered and neither one are here. Anyway, yes, sir.
So how are you doing?
Oh, so. Well, not so good with 2 packages missing. I'm going upstairs. See if I can find Amber.
No, I thought you were maybe doing pantomime, pretend like you
No,
were.
I'm not. Let me see if I can call Amber. Amber, I'm calling this my stepdaughter. Calling her. Amber. She's not responding. Go ahead and what? How can I help you, sir?
I'd like a hamburger with fries.
well, yes. You want to ask me some questions, I think.
Well, why don't you start from the beginning? I
Of
don't mean to give a little background on yourself.
uh, evolving what?
Wait, I mean, I assume you were born sometime, somewhere. What?
Yes. Born raised in Orlando, Florida. Yep. And my family's from down Miami, Coral Gables.
Well,
And yes, both packages got delivered. Hello there. This is Mason. There's Mason. Yes, neither there. Alex, you didn't see any packages?
Have you been in the office?
Yeah, I was not there either. I wonder if AJ picked them up. Yes. Yes. All right. Let me get back to this. That looks great, Mason. All right, sir. Yes, this is part of this. That's all part of my life right there. 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds and all sorts of olds. So I've got 2 packages missing. It's possible when AJ left, he just scooped them up and ran out. I hope that's what happened because it says they're both. The problem is this is the second time they've tried to deliver this one package, which oddly enough connects to what we're talking about. As I was going to open it up here, it's a book of the Spirit, and it's definitely
look at the
not
what?
book of the Spirit.
Will Eisner, or you mean
That's
the
right.
ghost?
The Will Eisner, part of. I've got a few of them, and this is one of the archives, Spirit Archives.
That kitchen sink in D.C.
The DC ones, yes, pretty neat. Anyway, I was born and raised in Orlando, and I Went to school, yes, in Orlando. My best teacher was my art teacher in elementary school, Nancy, at the time Engel, and she was the best teacher I had. Elementary school, junior high school, um, Hubert School, Ringling, Rollins College, the esteemed Rollins. Nancy Engel was the best. She actually lives about, where am I here? About an hour and a half, 2 hours that way here in North Carolina. And I hope to visit with her before I leave next week or whenever I'm leaving. That's something else that popped up in between all this, Jeff. Busy, a lot of stuff happening today around me, trying to hang on for dear life. But yes, and how I got to where I am in North Carolina is this is just temporary. I'm going to end up in Palm Bay, and I've been working. All right, you're right. Go back to high school. So yeah, I went to.
You didn't show a picture of where it was delivered?
No,
Well, that's bizarre because it always usually shows.
Amazon does that.
Yes, every time, unless they don't deliver it.
Yeah. All right. Well, there are 2 packages delivered at 2 different times. Poop.
Yeah, off camera and off the record, I'll tell you what I think of Amazon deliveries later.
The Saturday.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes they get delivered there, but
I didn't go over there.
Send you a picture,
I don't see. I don't know where to. I've got to see with this silly phone thing. All right. Well, thank you, Amber. All right. Where am I? Sorry. So
You're in North Carolina.
I first went to the Ringling, found it was a bunch of Yankees coming south to go to the beach and drink alcohol.
Hold on, go back. You were in Orlando.
Yeah, and from high school I went to Ringling.
Wait a minute, where were you in high school? Where'd you go to high school?
Edgewater High School in Orlando.
Okay.
Yep.
Why did you think you went to Dunedin? Okay, never mind. Go on.
No. Nobody good.
Okay, keep going.
I did not grow up around the train tracks there, or where the train is, or where you have the ball field that once had the Bluebirds and Dunedin Lanes that once had a great little restaurant. I know too much about Florida. All right, so I was born raised in Orlando, went to Edgewater, and while I was there in my last year of high school, I was actually interned at Channel 9 television, WFTV, and over at the Sentinel Star, Orlando Sentinel. And that was a great learning experience. I learned so much at those 2 places about how television graphics works, how newspaper graphics works. And also I love the newsroom. I love newspapers. I'm sorry they're gone away, but they really have been. I just walked by Mount Airy News in front of the Derby restaurant where I ate tonight, and no one's picking it up. It's so sad.
There's still Derby restaurants?
This is a different Derby restaurant. It's very, very good, though. It's all by itself in Mount Airy. Very, very good. Very inexpensive, good food. But there was Mount Airy News, and I know where the building. I was just by the building, the Mount Airy offices today too. But anyway, all right. So then I went on to Ringling, and that after I finished up with Ringling, it'll tie back into going back to the Sentinel and talking to art director Williams. I can't think. Mark Williams. And I was telling Mark Williams about the situation with Ringling, and he said, "Well, where else could you go?" I said, "Well, there's this." I had this comic book. I said, "Well, there's this Hubert School," and Mark, he's the art director at the Sentinel. Mark then reaches over, picks up the phone, looks at the number, calls the number, and then hands me the phone and says, "Go there." And so I arranged things and went. Actually, with some help from an aunt, was able to go to the Hubert School.
The you have to explain who was the
Joe Hubert School of Cartoon and Graphic Art, Inc., which was in Dover, New Jersey, a place I didn't. That was a new experience for me too, being a Southerner. But yeah, I went to the Hubert School, and yes, Joe Hubert was a teacher.
No, Joe Hubert was probably one of the greatest artists in comics and comic strips, if I remember correctly, history.
Storytelling, yes.
Yeah, one of the best.
Great illustrator, great drafts. Well, not necessarily great draft.
Done pretty good on too.
Very good. Yeah, it was outstanding in storytelling, being able to lay a scene and getting everything interacting. And yes,
the fact that they didn't send a picture is sketchy to me. There's nothing on those steps out there. If they had delivered it, they would have took a picture and sent it to you. So something sketchy about that. They might have said it was delivered.
Okay, I'll find it. Okay, thank you, Amber. not good. And I'm
Is that what you're on, Amber Alert?
Amber Alert. So I went. I
Sorry, that
ended
was
up.
a bad pun.
I went to the Cubert School. I came, and then I went to. Actually, came back and
Wait a
went
minute.
to.
Hold on, back to Amber, back to Kubert. Now you
Right.
got me confused.
Yes.
Yeah. What was it? You said you met Joe Kubert for work, right?
Of course, he was one of my teachers. He ran the school. Him and his wife.
What was he like? What was his? What did you think of him and his artwork and the person?
Yeah, he was great illustrator, great comic book artist, very good teacher, and the whole staff. I mean, I was fortunate. Those of us who went during that time period were taught by actual professionals, folks. I was I went 2 different times. I went to Cubert School one year, came back, went to Rollins, and studied philosophy and religion and political science. And then I went back to the Cubert School. Both times there was a different lot of people teaching. But so the culmination of that, or if I can just got to put them all together, was Joe Kubert, Hy Eisman, who did the Iodine, and is still with us. I think he's 97, a great guy. And Jose Delbo, who's still with us, also he's a good pal. He's down south in Boca Raton. Him and his wife Maybelle, and then Greg Hildebrand of the Hildebrand brothers. This is where probably from Greg Hildebrand's where I learned most involving painting, in a certain way. My
That
watercolors.
did not recognize. Yeah.
Yeah, Hildebrand's incredible. And I got to pose for some of his paintings. A lot of us did. I was not like it was just me. There's a whole bunch of folks who posed for his paintings. He made use of us, and I think that was good because it taught us how to pose, how to get lighting. It just gave us an understanding of the process. So we went. So it went from Greg Hildebrand, and then also Erwin Hasen, who did the comic strip Dondi. Wow, want to know how to cheat doing cartooning? Erwin Hasen. He had every trick in the book, and wow, but very very good fellow. Tex Blaisdell, who was mostly known as an inker for DC. But he went back, I think, to the 50s. I know he worked 60s and 70s. And then probably going to forget a whole bunch of Ben Ruiz, who no one necessarily know, and John Belfi. Oh, Milt Neal, who worked at Disney Animation. He worked on Fantasia, and he was very proud of working on Der Führer's Face, which was a Disney short with Donald Duck, which won an Academy Award. He was very proud of that. But he taught animation, and it was. And I'm forgetting folks. It's terrible. I'm forgetting folks. But yes, that's a bunch of them at least. Mike Chen was another one.
I've heard that name.
Bunch of them. Yeah. And Stan Kaye. There's a name that you have to be a real cartooning aficionado to know Stan Kaye. He did a ton of comic book work. He did a whole ton of stuff. I remember he did caricatures of a whole bunch of us once, but he wouldn't give us the originals. He made Xerox copies and gave us the copies. So the originals, I'm sure, he died back in the 90s. So I'm sure those are all gone. But that's interesting. But I still have remnants of all of that. As I was telling you at one point that I still have drawings that Kubert did over my drawings because he'd actually draw right over. He'd say, "Here's how you should do it." And he was more gentle. Now we at Ringling we had a really tough figure teacher, George Kaiser. And Kaiser, I saw he didn't do this to me, but I saw him do it to others. He wanted depth. And frankly, the folks at Kubert could have used a little bit of George Kaiser. But if he didn't get the depth when we were using things like charcoal, he would actually take the charcoal out of the hand of the student and then dig it into the paper and rub it in and say, that's how dark it should be. But you need to understand that stuff, folks. There's a timidity in drawing where you don't want to. Well, in inking, it's known as spotting blacks, putting large like the lid of this hat here is all black. Well, there's a tendency to want to go and do cross hatching or something instead of just making it black, and it's tough. It's tough to make, like if you're going to draw. Where am I? Where's my hand? Here it is. Like this area, black. Just do a black. Boom, and it's hard to do that. But and Kaiser, odd enough, he wasn't teaching cartooning or inking. He was just teaching how to draw the figure. So when he got to Kubert, It's funny, So we're being taught how to do comic book pages and all. I mean, the big thing slammed in our head over and over and over and over and over again. You don't do poses. You don't do poses. You don't do poses. And now it was just another 10 years or so, and all comics became poses, and that's all you see in there today. Are these guys standing there, or the woman sticking out, whatever, and it's amazing. It shows how horribly comics are drawn today, and they're drawn for one purpose only, and that is to get across a titillation, if you will. The storytelling doesn't matter. In fact, I'll point something out you may miss. If you read reviews, whether it be book reviews, movie reviews, whatever reviews, notice how often people talk about emotion. Emotion has absolutely nothing to do with telling a story. Absolutely nothing. If you're telling a story, you're telling beginning, middle, end, and you get that in there. Whether you get emotion or not doesn't matter. If you're writing a good story, it'll all come together. But folks don't know how to do that, and that's tough. And the comics today are just slop. It's just slop writing. It's all and it's all about trying to make political points and trying to sell comics, and that's not it either. Tell a story. Just tell a story. And make it interesting. Make people want to come back and get the next issue, or go to see the next movie, or read the next book. There are not a lot of folks who know how to do that. I'm sorry, I'm off track. Go ahead.
Who were some of your idols
Involving what?
In the industry?
Which one?
Any of them.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
in the comic strip artwork.
Well, because it goes, I'm also read like a crazy person. I read 156 books last year. I'm so far read 10 this year. Because I was speaking to you last week, I dipped into a collection of all of them have been regular books, and we were talking about that and how I hadn't read any comics, so I went and got a collection of Asterix that I need to review, and I've been reading through that Asterix volume, which actually has helped me with something else I'm working on. But yes. My favorites of things all depends on what genre you're talking about. But if you're talking about comic books or comic strips, I'm not a big fan of comic strips. But comic books, well, the two people that had the biggest influence on me. Let's see, can I say two or three? Neil Adams. Neil Adams just had a tremendous effect on. I first saw, he caught my eye. I used to go to a place called the Pre-Read Bookstore in College Park in Orlando, and that's where I first started picking up comics. It was the Neil Adams issues that I would pick up the most, and I really just loved the way there was a thin line and thick line and just tremendous storytelling. I mean, it's sad that in his last years, his storytelling just completely fell apart. He can't seem to be able to write. He didn't have the ability to write stories. He needed the direction of a writer to then go do the writing, to go do the artwork. That is.
He also got, for some reason, he was slow at times too.
Slow?
Yeah.
I don't know. I heard he was quick, but I whatever. His work there just had a huge effect on me. And Chuck Jones the animator, had a huge effect on me. Chuck Jones.
I remember in high school, I think it was a junior, a comic came out he did called Miss Mystic, the first issue.
Yes, continuity. Continuity Comics, his own comic.
And then I think issue 2 came out when I was a freshman in college. It took 2 years. So he was getting slow.
Well, it was. I remember I was picking them up from Coliseum of Comics, Phil Boyle's place there on Orange Blossom Trail, when those first started coming out. And when they first came out, and I remember Phil and I were talking, and it was just he was having a problem with production. The industries that are around today are the big industries. They want to stay the big industries. And even though it may be a little teeny tiny thing that can't seem to hurt anything, it's taking a percentage of the profits. So they don't want them there. And Continuity felt that because they just were trying to be shoved aside. If you try to do something today, it's a little harder because Amazon gives you an opportunity to reach a lot of people. But then to reach someone, you had to really work at it. And Continuity was having problems getting paper and inks and printing, and all this stuff was, they were up against the big dogs who didn't want them there at all.
Yeah, Kickstarter has also been taking a chunk out of Marvel and DC by helping these new small companies out too, from what I hear.
Yeah, we need more of those, definitely. we need to be supporting those. So I hope I sound okay. I should put a microphone in. Oops.
Well, I was going to use my laptop, but it's not working right, so I'm on my phone right now. So
Okay.
um,
Well, so I got it. So while I was at the yeah, those are my. I wasn't necessarily a huge Kubert fan when I went to the Kubert school, but he definitely, his entire school was very helpful to me, and so was Rollins College with the studies I did, because it gave me in fact, I took a lot of my studies at Rollins and took them to the Kubert school, and I was using them trying to tell different stories involving um, religious ideas or mythological ideas, were known as creation myths. I was trying to work those out in an illustrated way. You read this stuff, then you want to think, well, okay, does it work in in images? And it was interesting trying to figure that out. It was a real challenge. And I know a couple of the teachers there were a little flustered with me because I was kind of going way beyond the project by doing things like that. But it was fun though.
yeah, Joe Kubert was on my bucket list. I've met everybody I've wanted to, except for him, I think. Kirby was another one, but he was dead, I think, before I even thought about it.
They
And
come and go.
Skinny.
Yeah, I got to meet a lot of people. I've got, whether I be at my work in politics or especially when I was drawing caricatures at a place called a wax museum called Stars Hall of Fame. I got to meet a lot of celebrities of every shape and size. And frankly, I got tired. While working at Stars, I was getting tired of meeting stars. And I'm not, and being in politics, meaning people on the presidential level all the way down to the city councils. I don't care. It just after a while, you just kind of the thrill's gone of that sort of thing.
All right, let's talk about the gator or whatever that. What is Swampy? I
Well,
forget.
When I came back from the Kubert school the second time, there was a big development starting to go in a place called just outside of a city called Maitland. Oh, excuse me, right off Interstate 4, and that development, I could get into a lot of nuts and bolts of it, but it really spurred me to realize I need to do something. It wasn't long after that right after I got back to my second year at Kubert. The reason I didn't do a third was because my sister was also going to Rollins, and she saw posted on a note board that there was a search for someone to work in the graphics department of the city of Orlando. So I went to the city of Orlando for that job. I got that job. The person hiring me was a fellow named Jeff Parker, who's also a cartoonist. So he hired me, and I ended up staying with the city for another 20 odd years. He left just a few years later himself. He went on to work on Blondie and a whole bunch of other stuff, political cartoons too. But I worked in the planning department and the engineering department, so I know a lot about government stuff. But while I was there, a lady there who was the city clerk, Grace Tuning, I forget exactly how she found out I was interested in history, but she basically plucked me out of my office, the office space we all had, and put me into a meeting room with a whole bunch of old Orlandoans. And it was with a group called Orlando Remembered. And we were putting up displays all over downtown Orlando. And the idea was that I could probably help with my graphics knowledge, but also my absolute over enthusiasm for local history. Well, so thus I'm still associated with Orlando Remembered. I'm one of the oldest members still. Grace is still with us. Just about I was just at the memorial service for dear Peggy Jo Vandenberg here in December, and she was one of the last. And Grace is really the last of the founders of the group, and I'm the oldest member, even though I haven't been to a meeting. I get to a meeting about once a year, and I missed this one because I was up here in North Carolina. But anyway, that got me to go on the board of Pine Castle Folk Arts Center, which got me traveling to the state more. So I was visiting other museums and other historical places. The other thing that happened was I was concerned about our natural environment here in Florida, which got me into involving environmental things. And one of the first things I got involved with was Sierra Club, and instantly started work on the Kissimmee River, and I got to learn all about the Kissimmee River. And there's a bunch of lies about what the problem is and truths. trying to sift through it all can be difficult. Oddly enough, it's still, of course, a problem today because with most who are involved in such things, their effort is not necessarily to solve the problem, but to continue to continue the problem so they can milk money from it. And that's a sad story in itself. But as I worked in environmental and historical things, I also got involved in political things. And I know you didn't want to talk about that, so I won't go much further there. Just to say that I got heavily involved working on presidential campaigns and city council, county commission, all. So I was in the three biggest elements to try to get people to know about our state: environmental, historical, political. What I learned was, of those three, the historical was the most important. You're not going to care. You're not going to get enough involved with the environmental issues if you don't understand the past of it, why it's important. You're not going to get involved in the political stuff unless you know the past of our state and its importance. So you must know the history. And that's when my focus started getting more and more involved in historical Florida. And I got more involved. I was involved in historical groups all over the state and trying to get the message out. Now, part of it was I was also working and I was married. Amber, you saw or heard Amber's mother. I married Amber's mother. And that became a gigantic nightmare that basically ate up the entire 90s for me. The entire 90s, because I had it was just a mess because she was a nightmare, the evil one. And that's an intriguing story I won't get into here at this time unless you want to at some point. But it ended up having me working a lot. So I was working at Orlando City Hall. I was doing caricatures over at I ended up being over at Disney World and over at Church Street Station, and I was doing private events, mostly all corporate convention work. Plus, I was doing freelance work. Plus, in the mid 90s, with my getting involved with the National Cartoonist Society, I was syndicated as a political cartoonist all over the country. And then I was also involved in all these groups. So I was really busy in the 90s. And as I get close in on 61, I more and more wonder how the hell I did all that stuff, because it was a lot. I covered a lot of ground, and that's why I know the state so well. It's because I was across the state, and plus I was studying Florida history. I was, I'm a Florida historian now. I could say that. You ask me about anywhere in Florida, I'll tell you some history about it, if not more than you ever want to hear. But also, I know I'm a travel tourism expert because my second wife, which came about in 2003, was technically a travel writer, and we worked on these 600-page books, and we traveled the state gathering information, and I got to even further and learn so much thanks to Sandra. So, but anyway, I think in the 90s I missed an opportunity to really get into the cartoon world. Jeff Parker did. But I got shanghaied by the situation with the first wife, and I couldn't get out of it. I was too busy. I was trying to save Amber's life.
Hold on, Jeff Parker. Where do I know that name from?
Jeff Parker now lives up in Tallahassee. He was a political cartoonist for Florida Today newspaper for years. He worked on Blondie. For about, I guess, 10 years. He worked on Blondie. First by himself, I guess. And he worked with Dennis LeBrun, I forget how that worked exactly.
He didn't do comics.
Huh?
He didn't do comics?
No, he never did comic books. There is a comic book artist named Jeff Parker, but Jeff Parker, the cartoonist, I know my friend Jeff Parker, far and away a better artist than the comic book guy. Comic book guy couldn't get close to how good Jeff Parker is. My friend Jeff.
Jeff Parker did a comic called Bone or something like that.
No, that's Jeff Smith. He's from your state, Ohio. And I met Jeff. One of the funnest things as we
I had the first name, right?
Huh?
I had the first name.
As we've swum, we've been swimming here through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. It was early 2000s or so. I started going to the Festival of Cartoon Art at Ohio State University. What a great event! I still am flabbergasted how that event ended. I'm not even clear why, but it ended. It was really, really a great event. And even though I was with the National Cartoon Society and we would go and have these annual events, it was nowhere near. We get together, but see, at the National Cartoon Society, we're always on the move. We're going to a meeting, we're going to another meeting, we're doing this, there's a dinner, there's another dinner, there's this and that. With the Festival of Cartoon Art, there were speakers, and you could go to the speakers or you can go somewhere else. And I remember, like, my friend Tom Stemmel, whose birthday it is today, and I wish Tom was tuned in. Tom's a great guy, and his wife cooks like crazy, wonderful cook. Anyway, Tom and I and some others, Bucky Jones and so on, we just hang out. We wouldn't go inside. We just go hang out and have fun in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio specifically. I cannot stronger recommend the Billy Ireland Museum of Cartoon Research History, or whatever they call it, there at Ohio State University, run by Jenny Robb now. That is, I'm involved in museums. I also have a background in being what's known as an archivist, archiving historical items. That is the best facility I've ever seen. I've never seen that facility is incredible. It's underground. It's just you couldn't have anything more protected. In this case, it's protecting cartoon artwork, like you mentioned, Jack Kirby and everybody. It covers every aspect of cartooning, from animation to comic books, comic strips, the whole thing. And Billy Idol, you have to make an appointment to go get a tour to the actual underground part, and they do exhibits all the time. The only thing I wish that they wouldn't do is there's a lot of politics. And it was a problem with the Festival of Cartoon Arts. One reason we'd miss some of the meetings or miss some of the talks because they were just so political. I just I don't mind hearing about cartooning. I don't mind hearing about politics, but these tend to be one idea and the narrow view of things, and I didn't care for that. And sometimes often these exhibits are along the same lines, but it still the art the basement area of the holding area of all this cartoon artwork. And that if they tour you through there, they'll actually show you some of the cartoon work.
Some
So
of my, some of my, that's why I like when I go to, when I used to go to conventions, some of my favorite conversations over the years have been with Nick Cuddy, Chuck Dixon, and Fran Matera, just talking about, you just went off camera. Oh,
I know. I was just drinking a little bit of Starry.
but we talk about we talk about comics, the old stuff. So
It's
we
great.
don't
Yes,
talk.
it was fun. Well, that was the other thing that happened was I became a Florida chapter chairman of the National Cartoon Society, and I found myself having to herd cats, of course, trying to get people to our various gatherings and such, and it was a lot of work. Well, and I ended up doing that for 10 years, and some people still think I'm chapter chairman, even though I'm not actually had to leave the National Cartoon Society. It was the only way I could really get out of being chapter chairman. But also, I didn't like the way the National Cartoon Society, or NCS, the direction was going. When I was involved, or back when I got involved, I was coming at the tail end of really and I missed the really great artists who were there. But I still got to see a bunch of the really great artists, and it was so neat to have so many as friends.
I
And
remember I remember running into you at that hotel when I was doing security, I think that one year. Were you at the Sheraton St. Pete?
Sheridan St. Pete. Could have been. I don't
By
remember.
the Tropicana Field?
Well, I've done so many. I've done besides the NCS stuff. I've also done 10 tons of gigs, private and public.
No, no, this was the National Cartoon Society, I think.
Okay. Well, all right. So we were having it was a chapter meeting because I don't think we ever. Oh yeah, we did have chapter meetings in St. Petersburg, sure, and Clearwater. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got us in Lakeland. I always, my big thing was to, again, come here as a Florida historian and try to support Florida, is making sure that we made use of locally owned businesses. Make sure that we met I try to avoid the Sheratons. Like in Lakeland, we met at the Terrace Hotel in downtown Lakeland, locally owned and operated. We went to locally owned restaurants, locally owned this, locally owned that, support the local guys. That's what I always, and some folks got frustrated with me about it because it was more difficult to get to some of those places, and it was not always the least expensive. But the thing is, we were supporting the local guys, and I thought that was so important. I mean, that's where I was today. I was at the Derby Restaurant here in Mount Airy, or I'm actually in Pilot Mountain, up in Mount Airy, which is locally owned and operated. Wonderful place, very inexpensive, great food, great stuff. So I'm always this is something I do. If you want to meet, you know this, Jeff. If you want to meet me, we're going someplace that's locally owned.
Definitely. All right. let's talk about Swampy. We started to, then we went off on about half a dozen rabbit trails.
Well, as we're in the 2000s, and I wanted to do something with. I want to do something to try to educate folks, but I was also chasing my tail a bit with work and this and that. And I met Sandra, my ex-wife, now my ex-wife, Sandra friend, and Sandra had wanted me to do some coloring books about Florida, and I just did. I just somehow just couldn't do it. It just I still can't explain why I just couldn't do it. I couldn't find the what it was, what element I could use to really do that. And so surprisingly, it was after we separated. No, what's that? I don't have that right. Do I have the mix turned around, don't I? Anyway, somewhere around in there, I was going down to, there's a photographer, international photographer named Clyde Butcher, and outstanding, ClydeButcher.com. Great guy, too. Great guy. Him and Nikki and Jackie. Anyway, Clyde, he used to be swamp walks. We'd lead swamp walks through the Big Cypress Swamp, which is way down there, right to the west of the Everglades. And I would help guide those. I end up going down there to visit, end up helping guiding those swamp walks. It's one of the most spiritual experiences you'll ever have. One of the great things to explain it is there'd be all these folks who are looking at the entrance to this swamp walk, and they'd be, oh, I don't know, the alligators are going to eat us. We're all going to die. I said, just come. They would get in the water. We'd do about half-hour swamp walk. They get out of the water and say, where do I go back to get it? It's really it's an amazing experience. How quiet it is. You look at the cypress trees that are ancient, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, hundreds and hundreds. You're walking amongst them. You look up and they seem to go up forever into the skies, into the heavens. And when you look down, here's water around your legs or your waist, and beyond the water, it's so clear. You see yourself beneath it, and you see the trees beneath it. It's like looking into another world. The most important thing when you do a swamp walk is to get out there some distance and just stop and shut up and listen to nothing. And it's amazing how you connect to things. It's an incredibly good experience. So anyway, while going out to one of Clyde's things, it was just a little bit before that, a cartoonist, Chris Brown, who did a comic strip called Hagar the Horrible. Unfortunately, Chris died here a little over a year ago. Chris contacted me and said, I want you to do a comic strip and I want to help you get it done. So I didn't know what to do. What am I going to work on? I don't know. And so while going down there, it struck me. I want to get Florida history out there. So how can I do that? Well, heading down toward the Big Cypress, this is where one of the key places where a lot of stories of the swamp ape or skunk ape are. The 7-foot tall, smelly creature that wanders in and out and scares people to death. There's actually documented stories, people claiming that they have seen this creature for 150 years. Actual documented. Now, the undocumented, who knows how many. So while driving down there, this thing started clicking. Okay, so Swampy, and he's going to have a friend, Pasco Pete, who has a motel called the Gumbo Limbo, and a little granddaughter named Bunny, and then there's a baby alligator and a kitty, and so it all came together. Swampy's Florida was born from going to Clyde's place.
No dog?
Now there are some dogs. They're now as of the Valentine's book I'm working on, there's 2 dogs, but there was only 1. Yes.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm a kitty person. I'm a real strong kitty person. But anyway, sorry,
I had to get that in there.
I worked on the comic strip, and we did a whole set of comic strips, and we sent them around to be about syndication. Well, it was at the same time newspapers were dying, and it was really a question: if you get syndicated, can you make enough money to pay your bills? Because you have to. Yeah, you can't. It really doesn't work. So,
but anyway, that's what happened to Fran.
I think I got a rejection from King Features and a rejection. Anyway, it was Washington Post, Amy Lago, who had some interest in what I was doing, but then I won't say names, but there are a couple of syndicated cartoonists who came to me and said, if you sell the strip to Washington Post, you can't do your history stuff because they own it and they do whatever they want with it, and you can't have a say. So that's when I pulled it and decided to start doing the books. This was right when my ex-wife and Sandra and I separated. And it was funny. It was after I separated from Sandra and got really after the divorce, I started doing the books, the Swampy Florida books. And the first one came about because of the National Cartoon Society Florida chapter meeting in Lakeland. And I was scouting the place before the meeting. And I went into a place called the General Store, which was Jeff, you would have loved it. Fascinating place. It was all kind of wood inside, had all these antique toys and candies and cookies and things you might need. It was like a convenience store, as a general store once was. One of the things inside the building was someone had left a house looking like structure. So the owner painted it to look like the old Rock City advertisements. See, Rock City, black and
Oh,
red.
that
was-
used to,
That,
that
so
Ruben Falls used to drive me nuts going up and back and forth to Ohio.
the lettering was done in white on top of the black, and then the red building. And so it was and the name of the person is Teresa Glover. Still not only is she a dear friend, but it was a week ago today that I called her about wanting to do a Valentine. I've been to an antique store in Pilot Mountain and found some classic Valentine. Maybe in the car, I guess. Are they in the car? I think so. Anyway, classic Valentine cards. And I called her and said, "Golly, Teresa, she and I hadn't really talked like this in a long time, but I said, I'd like to do this." And she just bam, bam, bam. Here's how you do it. And now it's done. I did all the artwork. A week later, all the artwork to Valentine's Day is done. I'm working on St. Patrick's Day. Then last year I was going to do a Halloween and Christmas. Because of this house stuff, I didn't do it, but I couldn't do it. But it's on the docket. It's on the docket.
When do you turn 61?
May.
Make you feel old?
I'm fortunate if I can live so long. I hope I live so long to be 61. We'll see.
Tell me about it. I turned 61 in 11 days. I'm feeling, yep. I had my hopes up too.
Yeah, the clock ticks, and that's why one thing that's pushing me is my family doesn't tend to live very long, and it concerns me because I know now. Anyway, so I divorced my wife, and I worked on the Swampy books. I ended up doing 19 of them, and some of them, there were 3 that were in conjunction with the Florida Springs Festival at Silver Springs State Park, and then some were working with others. But in the last few years, I started having problems doing the books. And this sounds a bit eerie, but I started having problems with stuff happening when I was working on the project. And it happened time and time and time again. I know I made a few people crazy, including my neighbor, who, while I was working on one of the books, because they wouldn't stop me, I'd keep doing it anyway. So I would work on it, and suddenly the internet went out. And we had to wake up so another week and a half, 2 weeks, or maybe 3 weeks later, the electricity would go out. And then another few weeks, something else went out. And so one time the electricity went out. My neighbor called, and each time was while I was working on a Swampy book. So anyway, one time the electricity went out, and my neighbor called me and said, "You're not working on that Swampy thing, are you?" Because I'm
glad you moved.
Well, there's that question too, but it was so I'm floored. I've gotten this far without. Well, oddly enough, while I've been trying to work on these books, I was just about done with the latest one. 75% done with the cover, and my computer went out.
Oh, Lord.
So now I went ahead and did the stuff for Valentine's, and the Valentine's Day one's done artistically, but I still have to scan it all in, set it all up, and then send it out. Everything goes to Amazon now. Bookstores have closed. I'm very involved with books in our state. We're down to just a handful of bookstores throughout the entire state of Florida. The Florida Antiquarian Book Fair will be at the beautiful Coliseum in the 1924 Coliseum, celebrating 100 years this year in St. Petersburg. If I live so long, I should be there the first weekend of March, all 3 days: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You'll see me when you walk right in.
Do me a favor. Can you put a URL or whatever to your Amazon account?
I only have 3 books up there right now.
Put it down there.
My intent last year was to have 6 more added, but things keep happening. Now, what's happened now is what's happened now. I had to sell my house, and things have been. But my stepdaughters had a lot of problems I've been trying to solve. I'm being moved to Palm Bay by a company. And the intent of that is to continue to work on Swampy books and to work on other encouraging books for young people and children, try to make it better for them, life better. And I don't know all that Tim has in mind, but we'll work it all out. He's doing it.
But can you put a link in the comments when we're
For
done?
just 3 books. I mean, the other
Yeah.
19. Here's the problem with the other 19 now. The other 19 were really kind of guidebooks for very specific areas, like Lakeland. Well, Lakeland, that Lakeland one came out in 2010. Since then, Lakeland, the city council of Lakeland has done all they can to move out mom and dad type of businesses. The family businesses are basically gone, and it's turned into a giant bar. And it's just trying to redo it is going to be tough because so much is altered. So I'm not sure if I can redo a lot of the 19. It's going to be tough, but I might. Right now, I'm going to aim more toward history and working toward homeschoolers and teaching Florida history. That's what I want to work toward.
I just whatever you can put down there that they can look at, we can maybe we can help you, maybe sell you a couple books.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, here. They're all kind of lumped together, but those are some of the Valentines. The ones we used to pass out in school. I think they should still be available today so children can have happy things to give amongst each other and not something all angry.
But the politically correctness and all that,
Yeah, I couldn't care less. The thing is, they need happy things. We need to stop worrying about being angry and making ourselves mad and scared. Let's be happy about stuff, and children certainly should
we're
be.
getting close to politics. No,
You are. I'm not. I did. You said, not me. But I'm just saying we need to be happier. Yeah, this is the layout for the St. Patrick's. I'm working out the St. Patrick's Day book, and I had pages here. I can get them move. Just wasn't I?
When you start adding, when you get a couple of those books in the print on Amazon, we'll add the stuff.
There's the cover to Valentine's Day, and there's a 4-page story in there, and it has a dog, Vero the dog, and there's Valentine's cards, and there are I think maybe 12 black and white that young people can color. Then on the back are 6 that will be colored. That's the plan. I don't care whether I get it out before or after Valentine's Day. I just hope I get something out.
Hey, let's get these out there so we can get you some money, okay?
Well, and also teach Florida history. I look forward to getting some of these other projects that we have. And one is the story of Ross Allen, who was a phenomenal figure in Florida history, but generally thought of just to be handling reptiles. But he did so much more than that. And I want to. There's just a lot to do, a lot to cover, and I've got a whole list.
I wish we had done this a long time ago. But let's try and get you some. You need to be known.
Well, I mean, the political cartoons is I did mention, of course, something mixed, and I
meant the history.
have to bring in one political thing here, and then I said my work with Glenn Beck for 11 years was quite a thing too. In the end, I stopped it. Actually, the cartoons are all still on his website, but they're kind of hidden now because I'm not active with it. But I had to stop it because it actually was costing me too much, and I couldn't maintain it, so I had to cut it loose.
Okay. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, just if you're visiting Florida, please don't go to that what I call the Disney Military Industrial Complex. No, I'm not. This isn't a new thing for me. I've always hated Disney. I didn't like it when I was little. I've never understood the Pluto goofy thing. None of that makes any sense to me. I don't like how Walt Disney treated his employees. I have friends who sold them land, and I don't like how that went. So please, there's so much to see in our state. So many wonderful spots. And if you're going to go to history stuff, don't go. You can go to St. Augustine, but you got to go to Pensacola. You got to visit some smaller places. Micanopy. It's a wonderful little place, little spot. You can go get some barbecue, huh?
Yeah. The views of the guests are not that.
Well, I'm not talking politics. I'm talking about tourism and travel. Visit Dunedin. The restaurant that was in Dunedin Lanes is gone now, and it's sad that it's what's neat about being up here is there's so many restaurants that have been here for a long time. I mean, the Derby's been around since 1937, and it's still here. And there's a lot of those around here. But you go to Florida, and it's hard to find them. I mean, I always pull out Beefy King in Orlando. I started going there when it opened in 1968, and it's a place folks should visit. But it's hard to find restaurants to go to because people who keep moving into our state only will go to chain restaurants because they don't trust anything. Why do you move somewhere that you don't trust? This shows the fools that moved to Florida.
Now, thanks to you, I'll never get a Disney ad from here. So thanks.
I think it's a wonderful thing, actually. But that's me. I have a lot of friends who Milt Neal, one of my teachers, worked for. I have a lot of friends who work for Disney. A lot
I
of
know.
friends.
I was kidding.
They
I
know
said,
how I feel. Look, I work with a top PR person at Disney, and we both had a conversation. And this is how this silly thing for me to say, but here we basically came down to this: he stays in his area, and I'll stay in the rest of the state. He just there's so much to see in Florida. Why you waste your time and money, thousands of dollars, when you go down to Parrot Jungle. What you see right now is jungle. Yeah, all right, you can't really go there. That's not what it was. Sarasota Jungle Gardens, though, which is just right, almost catty corner from Ringling School of Art and Design. Sarasota Jungle Gardens, neat place to go. If you really want to have a good experience with flamingos, which are not native to the state, but if you want to have a good experience, that is one of the best. That is the best place to have that experience.
I never,
Go on.
I've always wanted to go to the Ringling Museum. I never did.
Yeah, they've since built some goofball Chinese thing there, the Chow or something, and it looks atrocious. And it's so much against every. John Ringling would never have approved that in a billion years. He would have gone out there and personally pushed the building down himself. So it's very against Ringling viewpoint. They think they're being artsy, but it looks awful.
Is there any other major person in Florida you'd like to attack?
Let's start talking about realtor.
Right,
Let's start
right.
talking about realtor builder developers. No, but the Ringling Museum, the Ringling Museum, the structure is extraordinary. The Katazan in the back, which was their home. There's also Circus a museum that's great to visit there too. So you can actually do a lot there. Another place I've just I do a live. I'm on Cartoons by Rob Smith Jr. on Facebook. You can visit and join my live drawing, which I do just to keep my hand going, because it's really helped keeps me going. I get off track things I won't draw for, if I could go off and do things and not draw for months. So
Yeah, I've been worried, but I haven't seen you for a while
but
online.
on Cartoons by Rob Smith Jr., I try to be there weekdays, Monday through Friday, but it's not like tonight. I couldn't do it because of scheduling.
How
But
is your hand?
Hmm?
How is your hand
Here,
since you broke
it's
it?
actually holding this phone. There it is, right there. Yeah, I broke it. I broke my wrist, and I broke my wrist
Seems to
last
be
year.
doing pretty good.
It's still drawing. Look at the drawings I'm doing. People, there. My friend, dear old classmate Missy Busby says that my drawings seem to have strengthened in a way and have more of a consistent, have a stronger. There's more of a strength to them of sorts than there used to be. And I think what may have happened, because look, the only reason we draw is because of how these bones all come together in the nerves. One of the reasons I draw is I'm a hyperactive bundle of nerves, and because of that, why I like this colder weather is why I draw as fast as well as I do. If you slow me down, I don't draw well. You get me at a speed, I really do really well, and there's the key to things. So whatever I did, however I rearranged my thumb and hand when I broke, I now draw a little differently, but a little stronger apparently. And I've heard
By the
others.
way, I just realized something. I'm using that pink stand you gave me to hold
Good,
my phone.
good, good. I hope so. You need, use those tools. I don't know if my friend Andrea Kaczynski's using hers or not. I got her something different.
Is that strange person I met that one day?
No. That's Trisha. No, I haven't talked to Trisha in a while. But yeah, Andrea, it does Voice of Hope.
Andrea, I apologize if you see this. I'm getting people mixed up. I apologize.
But you can find the Voice of Hope on YouTube and on
that's
Facebook.
Right. Trisha, has she met Trisha?
Who, Andrea?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
No.
thank God. So
Actually,
she would not know.
Trisha, friends of mine, Trisha has been you, and I'm not sure. Not many people. She met Ann Sabo, who's in Clearwater. She's down the
So
street.
why have you cursed both me and Ann?
Why I what?
Cursed me and Ann with that.
With Trisha. Trisha's look. I'm as quirky as they get. In a lot of ways, as we view society today, we work so hard to. My friend Russell says, the effort today is put everybody thinks they're trying to be different, but they're actually all being the same, and it's the effort of trying to put everyone in a box. And that is the effort. Put everyone in a box. And if you don't go in the box, they get mad at you and they chase you around till you get in the box. I don't fall in the box. I don't fit in there well. So that's the key. So I'm strange because of that.
But Trisha is definitely out of the box.
She's definitely doing her own thing. And of course, what I love about that is she loves kitties like I love kitties.
Yeah, that's well, I don't hold that against her.
You both are very, very different people.
Yeah, but she's different, and never mind. In case she sees this, I'm shutting up.
She's
All right,
a good lady, and she does.
all
She
right.
really works hard, and she's she works in the spirituals world of doing things, and
Yeah, I saw that when we were together that day.
she's
Well, listen,
she keeps it very, very quiet, and I think I've said to her that's a mistake she's making. If she's going to do this, be open about it. Let people know how to find you. Look, she keeps it very quiet. That's up to her. It's her thing.
all right. Well, I guess that's it. I'm going to call you in a second, so just talk to you for a second.
Okay.
If you get a chance, put your link down on underneath so they know where to find your Swampies.
Yeah, as I said, if I didn't say, my computer's out, and it's hard for me to do anything because I'm having to use a phone.
Okay, I'll see if I can do it, but I don't know if I can. But
Okay. I will talk to you later, sir.
I'll talk to you in a couple seconds.
Bye-bye.
Bye.